welcome to my little paintbrush. I'm so excited to paint with you today at home. I hope you have a good time. It's going to be fun. Today we are going to be painting the cactus. It's one of my favorites, and even though we are in the studio together, Miss Sarah's rules still apply. Remember that every artist is unique and we all create differently, so just have a good time. Enjoy the process and be kind to yourself, okay? Let's get started. First thing we're going to use is a big paintbrush. Doesn't have to be like mine. We just want a brush that's going to fill in a lot of space pretty quickly because we have a big cactus head to paint, right? So let's use this brush. Get it wet in our jar or our cup that we have full of water. I'm just going to tap off the water on the corner and wipe it on my napkin. And here we have our plate full of colors. I like to arrange all my paint on my plate like this so I can see it with a pile of white handy because I like to mix all my colors with white. So the first thing we're going to do is paint our cactus. This is going to warm up our paint muscles. And the way we're going to get the color for this is by mixing a little bit of this dark green with our yellow. You just want to start with a little bit because that green is super powerful. It will just take over. And this way you can decide how light or dark you want your cactus to be. I want mine pretty light, so I'm not going to add too much green. I like that. And we're also going to add some white to it. So I'm going to come over here and pull in a little bit of white and mix it in with my green and yellow. Remember, if you look at that and you want it a little darker, just add a touch of green at a time, okay? You want to be really careful. That green will take over fast. Okay, once you have your color mixed, you're ready to go. And we're just going to quickly fill this in by going up and down. And you see where I'm pinching my brush right here? That gives me a lot of control. And as you can tell as I go, I have these streaks in my painting, which I love. That gives us the cactus green in our painting. So I'm going to move in the direction I want my cactus to be standing. So I'm going round and up and down as I go. We're just going to fill this in pretty fast. Be sure to add some water to your paint. If you feel like it's a little stiff, sometimes we need to add some water to help it go on a little smoother. Okay, and as I go around my edges, I'm going to try not to pick up my brush too much. That way we get a smoother result as we go around that cactus, okay? And you see I have different shades showing up in my paint. That's what makes it so fun when we mix all those colors. A lot of times different shades will show up as we go. And I love that. Gives us that natural highlight and shading without doing a lot of work, right? Okay, we're going to go around our edges. I'm going to go straight across the bottom. Try not to touch my pot too much. Give us a smooth bottom and then keep going like this, up and down to smooth that out. Smoothing out the lines as we go. Okay, let's go around this edge as well. Trying to stay inside our cactus line. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay, while our paint is still wet, we are going to do some floating. Now for our young artists, you don't have to float. You can outline. So I'm going to show you two different ways. I'm not rinsing my brush. I'm keeping it full of this paint because I'm going to use it for floating. But if you don't want to float, if it's a little too tricky for you, take your detail brush like this, your smallest brush. Add just the dark green to it. Not the green that's mixed with any color. And you can outline your cactus just like this by following it around. Okay, see that? We just want to darken our edges. So you can outline just like that using your tiny little brush, okay? And go all the way around your cactus using that little brush. Or you can float, which is what I'm going to do with my big brush. So there's two different ways to do this. I'm going to use my big brush. I still have my green on it. I'm going to put a little bit of that dark green on the corner, just like that. Okay. And while your paint is still wet, you can float. And that helps the green just fade into your painting a little more. Once you try floating and you really get the hang of it, you'll probably prefer it over outlining. It's a little bit faster and more forgiving, so it's kind of fun to try. See if you can figure it out. If not, go ahead and outline it. That's a perfect option too. Okay, so let's go all the way around our canvas. We're darkening that. Okay, looks good. So now we're going to add the center lines to our cactus while our paint is wet, and that helps it fade into our cactus and give it those natural highlights. So I didn't rinse my brush yet. I still have this green in it. Okay, and I'm going to float. Now you remember, you can use your detail brush. This little tiny brush, get just the green in it. Okay, you can use this and give yourself these lines. And as you go, you want to curve your lines so it's not flat, right? We want to curve it to help our cactus look round, just like that. So you can use your detail brush to do that, or you can use your flat brush and continue floating these lines in. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way around, up and down, and put those lines in my cactus. Okay, there we go. These lines don't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of the cactus, right? It's not perfect. Okay, we're gonna do both sides. I'm doing smiley faces on both sides for that center green on our cactus. Up and down, make sure you have that line in there. Either using your detail brush to do it or floating it. Both are great options. You just want to keep that green going. Okay, I'm going to do my center line. This one's a little more straight, right down the middle, but it still has a slight curve to it. So we want to keep our cactus looking round. So it has a little bit of a curve, just maybe not as much as the other ones. Okay, and there you have it. You have your cactus. So once your cactus is in, we want to rinse our brush really well and let our cactus dry for just a minute. Okay, I'm going to pat it off and double check it, make sure it's super clean. We're using the same brush because we have a big pot to fill. So now I'm going to use my flat brush and get our paint. There we go. You get to decide what color you want your pot, right? You have blue, red, and yellow to choose from. I'm going to use yellow and red for my pot and blue for my background, but you can switch it up. That's what we do when we're artists. You get to just choose what your favorite colors are and what you prefer. You can even make a really bright pink by adding a lot of white to this red. The more white I add, the more pink it'll be. I'm keeping mine a little more red, but if you want it to be more pink, just add white until you like it, okay? I like that color. I'm gonna go with it. So now we're going to paint the bottom of our pot here and give our cactus a minute to dry before we put the top part of our pot in. Okay, I'm trying to move side to side here so that our pot looks a little more round. And that's why I keep my brush going side to side, because then our brush strokes go that direction. There we go. I'm trying really hard not to go into the top part of my pot here, especially because it's yellow. And yellow shows everything. So I'm trying really hard not to paint any of the red up there. Okay. And you can wrap your canvas. So you can take your pot all the way around the bottom of your canvas. We love to wrap our canvases at My Little Paintbrush. Just finishes them off and makes them look pretty for the shelf. So if you would like to wrap your canvas, go for it. Go all the way around. There we go. There we have our pot. Okay, now once again, our pot is wet, and we're going to add a little bit of shading to it while it's wet, like we did with our cactus. I'm just going to put a little bit of red on the corner of my brush, just like that, just on the corner, okay? And put that dark red next to the edge of my pot, and you can see it's slightly darker, right? I'm adding the red without the white in it, just to the side of my pot and underneath for a shadow. It's okay if your paint is wet because it fades into your wet paint. There we go. You can kind of brush it in. Let that shadow go wherever you want it to go. Right? Okay. At this point, your cactus should have had enough time to dry a little bit. If it hasn't, if it's still wet, let it dry a second before you do this next step. Okay? My cactus is dry enough right here to do this step. If yours isn't, you can take a blow dryer and blow dry it really fast, or just wait a minute. This paint dries really fast, so you'll be good to go in just a second. You can even stop and observe right now, because I suggest you take just a minute to watch me. Okay, I'm going to show you how to create this flower in a really easy step, but you might want to take just a second and watch before you paint it, because I have a couple tricks for you. Okay, so as we're painting this flower right here, I'm going to put mine here in this corner. If you want to put it over here or on the top, go for it. I love to see what you guys come up with. Okay, but I'm going to put my flower over here in the corner, and the first thing I'm going to do is decide where I want it, which is right here, and I'm going to create a V shape, the letter V, okay, with my brush. See that? So I'm just taking my brush and creating a V shape, just like that. So that is where my flower is going to go, right? So I have my V. Now I'm going to come right up the middle and put a line there for the center. So now my flower has a V with a line right up the center, right? Now all we have to do is curve the top, because we have the shape. We already have the shape now. So here we go. We're just going to curve it out. Curving the top. Just like that. Taking my brush and putting a rainbow right around the top. Come right up the middle and put your rainbow shape right around the top. Okay. Then we're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Put your rainbow right on the top. And there you have it. Easiest flower you've ever done, right? Pretty easy peasy. I bet you did awesome. You can have fun with this and add all kinds of things, but that is the basic shape. And we're going to come back in here and highlight in just a minute. We're going to let it dry for a sec though before we do that. Just make sure you have the shape just the way you want before you move on. Okay. Just gonna make sure my lines are smooth. My cactus is covered right here the best I can. And let's just let it sit for a second, okay? We'll come add those extra highlights in a sec. Okay, good work. So let's rinse our brush. Make sure it's super clean. We are moving on to yellow. And since we're moving on to yellow, we wanna make sure this brush is rinsed out really well, because yellow will show everything. It's one of those colors. You just want to make sure you don't have any paint left in your brush. So rinse it really good and wipe it on your napkin to double check it. Okay, so now I have my yellow pile here, and I'm going to add white. Remember, we always add some white to our color. Really brightens it up and helps it cover our canvas better. If you want it darker, you can always add more yellow later, but I like to start really light. And let's go side to side on our pot here. Just fill in the top, side to side, okay? And also white covers things really well. So if you accidentally paint it into your pot or something, the white is our best friend. It just covers it right up. Okay. Oh, trying to stay in the lines, guys. We're trying, right? Remember, you are home watching this, so you can, or wherever you are, maybe you're not home, but you are watching this, so you have the benefit of picking up your canvas to do these lines as carefully as you can. I like to hold my canvas when I'm painting a lot of times just to get those lines. Okay, I'm going to try really hard not to pick up my brush as I follow the corner, and then I'm going to go along the bottom of this pot here, very carefully, trying not to pick up my brush so I get a clean line. That's kind of tricky. You're just going to do your best, right? So what we do as artists, our very best. All the way across. Line it up there. Fill it in. Okay. Good work. We get to add some sparkle to this later, which I'm really excited about. I love sparkle. Okay, let's just let that dry a second. Okay, let it dry. And we're gonna rinse our brush. Again, really good. And let's put our background in. So my background color is blue, right? If you switched it around, awesome. That is so great when you guys get creative. But whatever color you chose to do for your background, whether it's red, yellow, or blue, we're gonna add some white to it. Super important, okay? Gotta add that white to it. Make sure it's light blue. I just keep mixing until I like it, trying to grab it without getting too much red in it. Okay, there we go. I like that blue. That's what I want. So now we're gonna put our background in. We're just gonna go for it. Let's just start putting it in, up and down and all around, as fast as we can. Don't need to linger too much on the background or think about it too much. All right, so we're putting our background in all the way around. Just keep on moving. And you might see some white streaks in my background. I love white streaks. It just gives it some fun detail and character. So if you get those white streaks, just leave them alone. Paintings are meant to be a little messy, right? It's not a print. This is a painting. So have some fun with it. But I do like to try and keep my brush moving around my image. So as I go, I'm moving in the same direction as my image. Not side to side, right? I'm not going this way. We're going up and around. Okay, so let's try and keep our brush going that direction. You can also wrap your canvas now. So you can wrap the sides, the top, and the bottom as you go. I'm going to be really slow here around my cactus pot. I don't want to paint that hard work we just did. I want to keep that totally free from paint. Now, if you do end up painting it on accident, not a big deal. It's super easy to just go right back over it. No worries. Now, one thing I love to do while painting too is add a little white to the corner of my brush like that. I didn't rinse it. I have my blue and my white on the corner. I like to follow my painting with the white facing my object. That way, it gives it that glowy look and it saves me the time of trying not to touch my painting too much, right? It has a little bit of white there anyway, so no one's going to notice too much how close I got to my cactus. Okay, so I like to leave that there. Now as I get around my flower, I'm going to do the same thing. My white is facing my flower. All right, gives it that glow around it. Now of course, if you like to have more of a flat look to your painting, where all of your color is mixed really tight, that is perfectly okay. That's very cute too. It's just different. We have different ways of doing it, and that's what makes it so pretty and fun. I love art for that reason. We all see color a little different and patterns. So just have fun with it as you go. And do what looks good to you. Okay? If you hit your flower a little bit, that's all right. You see I'm using the toe of my brush to get around the inside of my flower. It's a very tippy point of my brush I'm using to go around my flower. Right? It's one thing we talk a lot about in our classes at our studio. We try to use all of our brush for all the little areas too and learn how to control it. Okay, so we're going to try and use the tippy toes as we go all the way around. We're almost there. Keep following that cactus all the way around, filling all that space. And see, I'm putting that white on the corner to get close to my cactus and give it that highlight. Right? We have to slow down here to get around the pot. Okay. Sometimes it takes some concentration. And I got a little bit on there, and that's okay. Just wipe it off. Okay, got up to our flower, all the way around, blend it in. Come back down, blend it in. And right off our canvas. Make sure you wrap the bottom and the top and the sides with blue. And while you're at it, finish it off. All right, guys. Looks like our background is about there. I am going to make sure I have these white streaks in my painting by just adding that white to the corner of my brush, just like that. Okay, I like to add those white streaks in there wherever. It feels good. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush now. We're all done with the background. Let's rinse our brush. Really good. Rinse it, rinse it. Double check. Make sure it's super clean. Okay, because I'm gonna go back to my yellow. So I'm using my brush to get some yellow on it. Just yellow, not mixed with white this time. Just the yellow. I'm gonna paint right over my yellow here to make sure it's nice and covered, just the way I want it to be. Okay. You can obviously add more white if you want to. If you have anything you need to cover up, I just wanted my yellow a little darker. I'm going to paint that now so it can start drying because we're going to put glitter right over the top of our yellow. So I want it really dry for that part. So let's leave it alone. Let it dry so we can put that glitter on. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how to do these eyeballs. Let's start putting those eyes in. I'm going to switch brushes from my flat. So I'm not going to use this flat anymore. I'm putting that down. I want to use a smaller flat. Now you can use a smaller flat brush or just a smaller round brush. You just want something you can create a smaller circle with. And my big brush was a little too big for me to do that. So I'm going to switch this brush. Let's put it in some water. Loosen up the bristles and get some black on our brush. Now the trick with black is you want to add water to it so you can loosen it up a little bit. You don't want it dripping, but you don't want it really stiff either. Okay, so I'm gonna get some black on my brush here. And when we do circles, we want to start small. You can always get bigger. It's harder to get smaller and take it off or paint over it when it comes to black. Black is super strong. It covers everything, right? So let's figure out where we want to put our eyes. I want mine to come up pretty low. So here's the center of my canvas. I'm going to just start my eyes at the center. So the top of it's going to be at the center of my canvas. So it goes a little lower, okay? So here's our first one. Now here's the trick with eyes. You want to start by placing your brush down and moving in a circle motion without picking it up. This takes some practice, guys, okay? Now, see how I start really small? My eyes might be bigger than this, but I want to start smaller. Let it sit for a minute, figure out where I'm going to put my other eye. My other one's going to come right over here next to it. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to place my brush down and create a circle without picking it up if I can. And that's super tricky. Okay, you can see my eyes are different sizes. One is small, one's a little bigger. That's okay. I'm not worried about it. I just wanted to place them, figure out where I want them. And now I can go back, make it a little bigger or a little smaller depending on the size I want. Now, if you didn't want to do circles, you can do a wink, you can do ovals, you can do any kind of eye your heart desires, okay? We love to see all the eyeballs that come out of our paint class. So get creative and have fun with it. And show us what you came up with. Let's see, we're going to try really hard to get all the way around here. Make sure our space is filled. Circles take some practice too, because it's really tricky to do. I usually put my canvas flat on my lap when I'm making a circle, so that I have a little more control over my brush. So if you want to do that, go for it. Take your time. Just remember, the more you mess with circles, the bigger they get. So once you are to a point where you're pretty happy with it, you just want to leave them alone or they'll keep growing on you. Okay, let's see if we can match up this eye with the other one. Best we can, right? About the same in size. Going all the way around. Okay, I think we're about there. Those look pretty close. All right, you can also use a round sponge for this. If you have a round sponge handy, we love using round sponges in our classes. They help our little ones get those tricky circles. Okay, we have our circles in. We're just gonna let that dry a minute. I'm gonna rinse my brush really good because black is a color that's gotta be cleaned out of our brushes really good. It likes to linger. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush really good. And we're gonna use this brush again. I like using this small one for my flower. So I'm gonna show you two ways to do the flower. You can either float your flower like this. I'm gonna put my flower color back on my brush and then put a little bit of red on the corner, just like that. So I have two colors on my brush. And I'm gonna float the edges. So the dark red is going along the edge of my flower, just like that. And I'm coming down a little bit to add a center. I'm gonna float all the way around, okay? So you can either do it like this, floating, or you can use this little detail brush, right? Just like I showed you before, and just put the red on it, just straight red. Okay, and you can come here to your flower and add the outline to your flower using your detail brush. See, same result. Let's follow it this way. Just make sure you have all the edges done. See how I came down the middle here on both sides to make it look like it came down a little bit more for our flower. Okay, there's our flower. All done. We're just gonna add some highlights in a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna take my brush, rinse it out. Really good. Okay, now we're gonna switch brushes. So make sure that brush is really clean. We're gonna get some of our detail work done. And also some of our spikes done, which is really fun. We're gonna use the back of our biggest brush that we have. So whatever brush you have, pick the biggest one and let's flip it around and get that chocolate chip, okay? And I want my chocolate chip to be white. Man, I am a messy painter and that's just how I roll. I like to mix all my colors. Can you relate? We're gonna get the white on the back of our brush just like that, get that chocolate chip. Okay, and you're gonna put dots wherever we're gonna add some spike to our cactus. Okay, we're just gonna get that chocolate chip and then press down and get that dot. Here we go. And we're gonna be kind of random. You can add as many as you want. As many as you feel like. I like to make sure I don't have a pattern when I'm doing this. I want to keep it as random as I can. So as I go, I spread it out so I don't have the same thing twice. I'm going to have another one right up here. And then we'll do one up here. And we're just going to keep pressing down on that dot and putting those spots wherever we'd like to have a little bit of spike on our cactus. Okay, I've got another one over here. And one more right under my flower. All right, looks like polka dots right now, but that's gonna change. So I'm gonna rinse my brush out, wipe off the back on my napkin so I don't poke myself with white. And we're gonna switch brushes. We're gonna use our detail brush now. So make sure you get your smallest little brush that you have available. Let's put some white on it, okay? And let's put these spikes on. And the way we make the spikes is you just pull away from your dots and make a V shape. See that? Just making a V shape. So you're just pulling away from your canvas, your little dots on your cactus. In any direction you want. You can have them going straight up. You can have them going to the side. Okay, we got to do it in white, and then you'll just go right over the top of that white with yellow in a minute to finish it up. Okay, now we do this spot here. Just keep doing those V's in any direction. But you see how I'm pulling away from the dot? That way I'm using the paint in my dot as well to create this. Okay. One more here. Okay, so we have them going kind of in different areas. Now while I have the white on my brush, I'm going to add some highlights to my painting. I have one. What did I do there? Okay, I have one here along the grain of my cactus right there, just to show it off a little bit, draw some attention to it, and one here. Okay, and then we have one along the top of our pot right here, a little bit of a highlight. One thing I like to do sometimes is paint it and then drag my finger across it to blend it in, or you can just do a straight across line. Either way, this gives it that little highlight. And then we have one on our pot here and here. You can see that. We get to put glitter anywhere there's white highlights. So anywhere you want to add some glitter. I'm going to go into my flower now and do kind of a round rainbow shape on the top. Make it look like a hook. We're just following our flower around. See that? I'm going to do a little bit over here too, right on the top of our flower. And then one more right along the side of our flower. That just kind of finishes it off, right? Looking good. Okay, I'm not even going to rinse my brush here. I'm just going to go right over to my cactus color again. Okay, I'm adding a little green to make it slightly darker. If you need to add some more water to your paint, do it, because sometimes as it sits there, it dries and seizes up on us. So I'm going to spin my brush, get a lot of green, and let's add those spikes to our cactus. These are kind of fun. You're just going to come straight out of your cactus like that with these lines. Some of them can be really long, some of them can be shorter. Just depends on what you're feeling. Okay. Kind of do all sizes. I'm going to do a little one right here. And come over here and we can add some more to this side of our canvas. And one closer to our flower. Oh no, got black on my painting. All right.
See, I'm just gonna take some green and go right over that. See that? If you ever get a spot on your painting, it's one of the joys of acrylics. Just go right over it. Clean it up if you want to. Okay?
All right. I like it. Okay, let's rinse our brush. Rinse our brush, and while everything is drying for just a second, we're gonna put our mouth on. So let's grab some red mixed with our white. You can make this as dark as you want, right? As dark as you want. We're gonna try and go right between the eyes here. Right between the eyes where our eyeballs are. And the way we're gonna make this mouth is first do a line straight across, okay? We're gonna try and center it. Just kind of eyeball it there, right in the center of our eyes. Okay, once you get that line across, then you're gonna add a smile underneath. Just like that, okay? Just add a little smile and then fill it in. There we go. You can make this smile bigger or smaller, whatever you're feeling. I'm gonna make mine just slightly bigger. Go all the way across there. Okay. And I'm gonna add a little more red to mine. There you go. So once you have that in, I'm gonna let it sit there and dry for a second. Rinse our brush again. Now it's time for all the finishing work. You guys have done it. You ready to finish it up? We're just gonna let that mouth dry for a second. And I'm going to switch to my big brush here. My big flat brush, because remember we wanna use our biggest brush for our chocolate chip. Our big chocolate chip. So I'm gonna use my biggest brush, get my chocolate chip on there, and we're gonna put that highlight in our eye, just like this. I'm gonna circle my brush around, get that circle in my eye. Got one there. I'm gonna put another one on this side. I wanna try and keep them looking kind of at each other. Facing each other, just like that. You can make it as big as you want. If you want them bigger, you just add more paint to the back of your brush, right? You can make it bigger. Okay. Circle your brush until you get that circle you like. Good work. Okay, once the circle's in, you want to make sure you wipe off the back of your brush so you don't smear anything with it. It happens. Okay, so I'm going to wipe off my brush. Our cactus is coming to life here. And I'm just going to take some of that green paint and paint over anything that I want to cover up with my leftover paint. Here we go. Now we're going to do our final highlight, which is in our mouth. So I'm using my tiniest brush again, my little detail brush. I'm just gonna add a little highlight to the mouth here, right here in the corner. Just like that, okay? And I'm not gonna rinse my brush. I'm just gonna put some yellow on it now because it already has white, and white and yellow are best friends. So put some yellow on it, and you can go right over your spikes real quick with your yellow. Okay, I'm just gonna go right over it. They should be dry by now and pretty easy for you to just cover. If some of the white is showing through, that's okay. That's kind of what we want. We like that. It gives it different shades as we go, okay? So just make sure you're dragging that yellow in, filling it in, and coming to each side here. All over them. You don't have to think too much about it because the imperfections is what makes this. Okay, I'm going to finish up here.
Trying really hard not to smear my work with my wrist here. Just gonna get all of these. Quickly just covering up our white. One more here. Okay. See how some of mine have white showing still? I'm just leaving that alone. It's a natural highlight to this painting, so they're not all the same. Makes it a little more unique. Okay, they're all covered. I'm gonna rinse my brush. We are ready for glitter. It's our favorite part, right? Okay. But I'm going to give all of this yellow here, these yellow spikes, just a minute to dry. And I know we're glitter happy and we really want to play with our glitter, but we need to give our spikes a minute, because if you put glitter over the top of them, you'll just smear them right off. So give your spikes just a minute, and while you're waiting, if you want to, not all of our artists like to do this, but I like to kind of do a little bit of outlining just to finish it up. So if you want to do this with me, you can, or you can just sit there for just a minute and wait for those little spikes to dry, okay? But I'm gonna put some black on my detail brush. Remember, we add water to it, a lot of water, okay? And I'm not outlining all of my work, just some of it. I'm gonna outline some of my pot right off my canvas there, okay? I'm gonna come right along the top here. We're just gonna go as easy as we can. Highlighting is really, or outlining is really tricky, right? Super tricky, so we just do our best. Just do our best. Sometimes we press harder than others. And if I don't have enough water on my brush, you won't get that smooth line, really smooth, long line that we want. See, now I have a little more water on my brush, and I'm getting it a little easier all the way across. Okay, just want to make sure you get that water. Okay. All right. So I didn't go all the way across the top of my pot here. I let it fade out. If you want to, you can. I didn't take the time to. I just like to give it enough highlight that it gives it some dimension here. My page is wrinkling up on me, but we might get a line. We're gonna try. Okay, we're gonna let that fade out right along there. Then I did a little bit of outlining on this side of my pot as well. I let that fade out. Okay, and it go all the way down. So now for our cactus, I'm gonna outline some of it. I didn't go all the way around my cactus. I just kind of let it fade out on me. And then I'm gonna do a little bit at the top, but I didn't go all the way around the side. Okay, so we're just gonna go right around here and just let it fade out, just like that. And the same on this side. We're gonna add just a little bit of outlining and then let it fade out. Just like that. Just gets a little thinner and I let it kind of go on out. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit right here to these lines. You can go up as far as you want. I just kind of did enough to show that there's lines here going up our cactus. Just like that. I'll add a little bit coming up the center. Just like that. We'll leave it alone. I'm going to add some right up here up top. Coming down and let it fade out. And here. Okay. All right, guys. I think this is all dry and it's ready for us. But don't forget, you can outline just a little bit of your flower here. I almost forgot the flower. We don't want to forget our flower. You can just come right up here and do a little bit of it just to help it stand out. Okay, I didn't outline all of it either. There we go. Okay, let's rinse our brush. And now we can do the glitter. It's the part we've all been waiting for, right? So I'm gonna use a smaller flat for my glitter. You can use any size you want, but we wanna make sure we have our glitter handy. A tip with this glitter, if you have it in your little container, you don't want to have it sitting out with the lid off, okay? Because it dries up pretty quick. So if it dried a little bit, try adding a little water, but you want to keep it shut, okay? Because it's super thick glitter, which we love. Now, once you get that brush ready, you want to load it up with that glitter and just put it anywhere your heart desires. You can cover the whole thing if you want to, right? We get a little glitter happy in our studio. We love glitter. So we're going to go all the way around here. Should be ready for you, nice and dry. Glitter it up. You can put as many layers as you want. The more layers you add, the sparklier it'll be, okay? So I put some right there. And then remember how we talked about anywhere there's white, you can add glitter. So if you see some white somewhere, you can put glitter on it because it will definitely show up on our white. It dries really clear, but sparkly. So I have some right there. And then the last place I have my glitter, I'm going to switch to a detail brush to do it. Use your little tiny detail brush to put the glitter on your spikes. Because those are small. So you're just going to take your glitter and go right over your spikes. So they're sparkly. You don't have to be super careful with it because it's clear. It's just going to add sparkle to your painting. That's it. So I'm just going to go over it here. Make sure I've covered everything really well. Kind of pat it. I'm sure you guys have lots of fun places to put your glitter. I always like to see what you come up with on that. So we're going to put it all over. Okay, guys. Looks awesome. Good work. You finished. So once you finish, make sure you rinse the glitter out of your brushes. You don't want that glitter to dry in your brushes. It will make your brush very stiff and you'll never be able to get it out. So make sure you rinse the glitter out really well in your cup. And the last thing we need to do is one of the most important things, right? As artists, we sign our paintings because we're really proud of what we just did. And so I'm going to find a spot that I want to put my name. I like to use my smallest detail brush to do that. And I'm going to use black, but you can grab any paint color you want. Find a spot for that name. I like to sign my name along the edge of my painting or find some negative space to do it, or you can put it on the back of your canvas, anywhere you'd like to put your name. But I'm going to put mine right here in the corner and be as careful as we can. But we want everyone to know we did this, right? Every artist finds a special place for their name. All right. Thank you for painting with me today. I hope you had a good time. Tag us with your pictures or send us messages because I want to see them all. Can't wait to paint with you again in our studio. We'll see you guys later.